Hey guys, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze landed for the Nintendo Switch. Is the port of the original better? Is it worse? Is it the same? Should you buy it? Yes, no? We're going to take a quick look at the differences between the two. We're also going to do just a short review of kind of my thoughts on whether or not I think it's better than the original. So far, a good number of the first-party Nintendo titles that have come out for the Switch have been ports from Wii U games. And Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is no exception. It originally came out for the Wii U in 2014, and it was considered a pretty good game. A lot of people consider it one of the better platformers that's ever been released. Now, one of the main strikes against it is the difficulty. And I'll be honest, the game is not very easy at all. In fact, it's not easy, it's downright frustrating in certain areas. Now, that's not to say that it's impossible, and it's not cheap in its difficulty. Anytime you die in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, it's because you mistimed something, it's because you hit the wrong button, or it's because you make some type of miscalculation. It is very much the type of platformer where you're going to have to play through it, and in some areas you're just going to have to memorize the sequence and the timing of enemies and jumps to be able to get past a certain point. And so Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a challenging but very fun game, and it's definitely one of the better platformers that Nintendo's made, in my opinion. Now, that being said, is it worth it porting it over to the Nintendo Switch? Are we gaining much, if anything, from the port that comes over to the Nintendo's new console? And if it is it worth buying it a second time if you've already purchased it? If you've never purchased it or played it, is it worth the premium price tag of $60 for the game? So we're just going to take a brief look at kind of the game itself, and then we'll go into some of the, my thoughts and review on it. So first of all, here's the games. This is the original. As you can see, the Wii U was a disc-based system, so that's what we have here. You've got the instruction booklet, the disc itself, and it comes in the teal blue case that we all know and love. To kind of compare that, this is the case that you get. Nintendo Switch games come in these plastic cases that are quite a bit smaller than the originals. And you can see, for the most part, the front is using the same art, with the exception of this little guy in the top right-hand corner. And we'll talk about him in a second. Now, on the inside, you'll see that you actually have a reversible cover. So you can take this cover out, and you can reverse it and have a different looking piece of art on the front of it. So I think that's kind of cool that Nintendo is using the inside of this for, kind of like an extra feature of the Switch game. Is that worth the premium? Definitely not. But we'll go into my different thoughts on the differences in price here in a bit. Now, one thing you'll notice is, unlike the Wii U game, you do not get an instruction manual. And that's a shame, but that's kind of the way games have gone for some time now. So you don't usually get instruction manuals anymore with a lot of these games. So unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is. And there is the cartridge. Nothing too crazy with the cartridge, just pretty much the main logo there. And then on the back, you'll be able to see some art and just some details of the game. Now, as far as the main differences between the Wii U game and the Nintendo Switch game, really the main differences are going to come with this new Funky Kong mode. As you can see up here, Funky Kong is another character in the DK universe, and he's basically making it the easy mode for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And by that I mean Donkey Kong, or Funky Kong, allows you to kind of skip around through the game using his surfboard, which means that in a lot of areas where Donkey Kong would have to jump over or navigate, Funky Kong can actually use his surfboard to get over things like spikes and such. He also has a double jump mechanism, which makes a lot of platforming areas much, much easier. And not only that is, he actually has extra hearts compared to the other characters. Now, if you choose to start in Funky mode, you will be able to choose from the other characters, meaning that you won't get his special abilities, but you will gain the advantage of the extra hearts that Funky Kong normally has. The other thing about this mode is that if you start in regular mode, you can't switch to Funky Kong mode. So if you start in regular mode and then you get to a part that's really, really difficult, you can't switch back and forth between the two modes. So you're stuck in the normal mode, and you're going to have to play all the way through or start the game over. And so that's kind of the main differences between the two modes. And that's really all there is, with the exception of a slight increase to resolution. And to be perfectly honest, it's not something that you're really going to notice on most televisions, especially depending on how close or far away you sit from the screen. So Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U actually came in 720p. And the new version of this game also comes in 720p when you're playing in handheld mode on the Switch console. When you're playing in docked mode and playing through a television that supports 1080p, you will get 1080p resolution. So you are getting a bump in resolution, but I'll be perfectly honest, and I'm not a videophile by any means, but it's hard to notice it. I mean, you're not going to be blown away. And that's kind of a good thing. That's one of the positives. This game that originally debuted on the Wii U holds up extremely well. And that's one of the reasons why you're not going to notice that resolution boost. At least most people won't, I don't think. And that's because the game is just a beautiful game. The graphics, the animations, everything about the game and the way it looks is going to be great, whether you have the Wii U version or the Switch version. So as far as the graphical part of it, I don't think you're gaining too much with it. The new Funky Kong mode is pretty cool. It's a new way to play the game. And if you like platformers, if you like Donkey Kong games, you're going to enjoy this. Now that kind of gets me to the last point, which is the price. Now, Nintendo decided to go with a $59.99 price tag. Now, after taxes and things like that, you're probably looking at closer to $65. That is a premium price reserved for first-party titles. And this is definitely a first-party title. It's well made. It's definitely worth the $60. Now, the problem comes in, is it worth the $60 if you've already purchased it like I have? That's a little bit trickier. Now, I would say in my case, because I both collect and play these games, it was for me. For your normal person, if you still have a Wii U and you play it often, you already have this game, I don't think that Funky Kong mode and the graphical increase is any reason to go out and shell out another $60 to $65 for this title. I think wait maybe a year or so, it's going to come down, and when it goes down to the $40, $30 price range, that's when I would pick up a copy. There's no reason to run out and grab the game at its premium price right now because you're not gaining that much in doing so. Like I said, if you're a collector, then it might be worth picking it up. Same kind of thing with Mario Kart 8, that came out for the Switch. You did get a few niceties, but for the most part, you were talking about the same game. Now, here is one area that may push people to buy the new game, even if they have it on the Wii U, and that's the mobility factor. Platformers are a great game to play on the bus, on the train, on the plane, when you're just waiting for somebody at the grocery store. And so if you want to be able to play this game mobily, then you're going to have to pick up the Switch console and a copy of the Switch game. So for that reason, for a lot of people, they may be pushed to purchase it. I actually have played this in mobile, and I thought it was great in mobile, just like it is when you're playing it on the console. You're not going to find any frame rate dips or anything like that, and so I thought it was well worth it. One other thing that I forgot to mention is going to be the loading times. If you've ever played the game on the Wii U, you know that the loading times are abysmal. They are absolutely way too long, even for a disc-based system. Well, the Switch game clears that up. The loading times are actually very short. You will see loading screens, you will notice them, but they move pretty quickly, and they're not going to be loading any longer than most any other games that you would notice. Certainly not a game like Lego City Undercover that had extremely long loading times. So in short, I would say if you've never played the game and you own a Switch, definitely pick up the Switch copy, even at its premium price. If you already have a Wii U and already have the game for the Wii U and you've played it to death and you love it, there's no reason to run out in its current price and buy the new version for the Switch. I would hold off and wait till it gets to that $40, $30 price range. But in general, this is one of the better Donkey Kong games, starting from the Super Nintendo all the way up until the Nintendo Switch. I think this is better than the Wii version, and maybe not quite so the Super Nintendo version, but it is right there. It's a great game to have. I would definitely recommend picking it up and playing it, no matter which console you purchase it for. So that was just a quick look at Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Nintendo Switch versus the Wii U. Thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe if you like my content. Thank you.